illustrate the sequential unfoldment of natural law in the human body, as displayed in the sequential flow of the sounds and frequencies of the 10 mandals, or chapters, of Rig Veda. If you turn your attention to the figure, you will notice that as we present each aspect of Vedic literature, the corresponding part of the physiology will be highlighted with colorful blinking lights. Now, we will begin with the first mandal of Rig Veda. The first mandal, or chapter, of Rig Veda corresponds to the Prakriti quality of self-referral consciousness and is represented in the physiology by the neuronal fibers within the brain and the peripheral nervous system. First, we focus on the brain, which is highlighted by the blinking light. Represented here are several groups of neuronal fibers which weave throughout the whole brain physiology and correspond to the first mandal of Rig Veda. Next, we focus on the peripheral nervous system, represented here by the spinal nerves. Please observe the reverse side of the figure, where the spinal nerves are visible, emerging from both sides of the spinal cord through small holes between the vertebrae. Spinal nerves form a pathway for information which is descended from the brain through the spinal cord and then emerges from the spinal cord in the form of the spinal nerves, which then reach out to the different organs of the body. Please observe that only the first few centimeters of each spinal nerve is shown in this illustration. In reality, the spinal nerves are groups of long neurons which bifurcate many times into tinier and tinier nerves in order to reach each single target cell. Each spinal nerve corresponds to a specific sukta of the first mandal of Rig Veda. The reverberations of self-referral consciousness expressed in Veda manifest themselves here as the neuronal fibers within the brain and the peripheral nervous system, including the spinal nerves, and correspond to the Prakriti quality of self-referral consciousness. Now, please enjoy a flavor of the Vedic recitation of the first mandal of Rig Veda, while the corresponding part of the physiology is indicated on the model by the colored lights. Now we move on to the second mandal of Rig Veda. The second mandal of Rig Veda corresponds to Prithvi, the earth element. This quality of consciousness gives stability and solidity. In the human physiology, the muscles and bones express these qualities of stability and solidity. There are more than 500 muscles in the human physiology, which are structured in several layers throughout the body. Please observe the blinking of a selection of muscles on both sides of the figure, representing all muscles of the physiology. The reverberations of self-referral consciousness, as expressed in Veda, manifest themselves here as the muscles. There are more than 200 bones in the human physiology. Please observe the blinking of a selection of bones on both sides of the figure, representing all the bones of the physiology. The reverberations of self-referral consciousness expressed in Ved manifest themselves here as the bones. The reverberations of self-referral consciousness expressed in Ved manifest themselves here as the muscles and bones. The second mandal of Rig Ved corresponds to the earth element, Prithvi, and is represented in the physiology by the muscles and bones. Now, please enjoy a flavor of the Vedic recitation of the second mandal of Rig Ved, while the corresponding part of the physiology is indicated on the model by the blinking lights. Now we move on to the third mandal of Rig Ved,